Hello, in this video I'm going to show how to properly adjust a set of adjustable pivot pins. This works for any set of plates that comes with adjustable pivots. This happens to be a set of SureGrip Avengers. One of the benefits of this plate is that they come with adjustable pivot pins. That is this piece located right here. There is a 1/2-inch lock nut located right next to the truck housing, and then there is a 3/8 hex drive that is actually manufactured onto the pivot itself. These particular plates come with one of these stamp steel adjustment wrenches. These are garbage. You can use these in a pinch, but usually what ends up happening is this end ends up getting chewed up, and they're pretty much junk. So what you want to do is you want to find yourself a set of good quality open-end wrenches. These are one of these is a Craftsman, and one of them is just actually a no-name off-brand that I got at the discount store. I don't like using no-name knockoff stuff for mechanical work on vehicles, but it works just fine on skate stuff. So the reason that some plates come equipped with adjustable pivots is because whenever you adjust the compression, the deformation, the preload on your cushions, what you are doing is you are moving the truck closer to the plate or farther away from the plate, depending on how much pressure gets put onto this lower cushion. So when you have these guys backed all the way off, your truck is set farther away from the actual base plate, and what that can do is that can create a situation where your pivot is not actually sitting in the bottom of the pivot cup. What that ends up doing is that places a lot of strain on the kingpin. You can end up with broken kingpins. In the case of the Avengers, because the kingpin is pressed into the plate, what ends up happening is the kingpin just gets loose in the plate, and then the plate has to be thrown away. There's nothing that you can do to repair it that I've heard of anyway. So it is important to make sure that these are adjusted properly, and yeah, I'm going to show you how to do this. So these skates are brand new. They've never been skated, so nothing has been set up at all. I'm not going to bother going over how to set up cushions. That's for another video. This one we're just going to focus on pivots. I have some preloads set on these cushions already, and what I've done is I have screwed the pivot all the way into the truck. This is simulating what happens with many skaters. They don't look at their gear for a while, and this pivot will just back all the way into the truck housing. And you can tell that it's backed all the way in because it's resting right against the lock nut, and the lock nut is right against the truck. I've never seen them unscrew all the way out. They always end up screwing back into the truck housing. So you can tell if they are all the way in by just pushing down on the truck. It's hard to see in the video, but if you look really close, you can see that that pivot is moving up and down inside the pivot cup, and we don't want that. We want, wherever this is set up, we want no movement down into that pivot cup. We want at neutral, when this is just sitting here with no pressure on it, no weight on the skate, we want the pivot just touching the bottom of the pivot cup. So what we're going to do to fix this situation right here is we are going to unscrew the pivot from the truck housing, and we're going to use our 3/8 wrench that I said we needed a little bit earlier. So I'm just going to basically unscrew this guy. Give it a couple half turns, and then I'm going to check. And I can still see that this is moving up and down. So I'm going to give it a little bit more. And I'm going to check it. I got a tiny little bit of movement still. I'll give it another little turn to get rid of that last little bit of movement, and then I'm going to call it good. You really want to be careful with this. It does need to be perfect. If anything, you want it a little bit too far out. And when I mean a little, I mean like a fraction of a millimeter. That's pretty much got it. So I've got no side-to-side movement that I can detect, except I actually do right now. So I'm going to give that a little bit more. There we go. No rattling back and forth. That's sitting just in the bottom of the cup. I've got no detectable movement in and out. And when I wiggle this back and forth, I'm not detecting any movement at all. Sometimes it's easier to just feel if you can get movement back and forth than it is to see, because we're talking about very, very little movement. So now I'm going to use my 1/2-inch wrench to adjust this lock nut. And to adjust this lock nut, I need to tighten it against the truck housing. And that is going to prevent this from coming loose again. Now what you need to do to make sure you don't wind the pivot back into the truck is you need to actually stick a wrench on that to make sure that it's not turning. So it can get a little bit tight in here. We're just going to tighten this guy up, making sure that that pivot doesn't move. And there we go. That should be it. All adjusted. Now we can move on to the back one. Thank you for watching the video, and feel free to message me if you have any questions. Thanks a lot. Bye-bye.